So I got a comment from one of you guys. I think it was last week in something I shared that was reminding me to show behind the scenes of some of the different things I'm doing. And I have to admit, that's something I really struggle with. I love to create things in different ways. I love writing. I love sharing through podcast episodes. I love creating art. I love speaking places. So there's so many ways that I do love to bring to life what I'm passionate about and what's on my heart that I feel compelled to share. But what I'm not good at is once I've done that, letting people know about it. And I've gotten better than I was, but I think I just enjoy the creative process so much, and that fills so much of my time, and I love it. That I think when that is what drives you, the other is kind of like over here. But then there are times where I'm like, well, if it is to put out into the world and share with others, nobody knows about it unless you're talking about it, unless you share it with them. And honestly, that is probably one of the main reasons that I have decided to show up on this platform in this way, because a lot of the things that I do put out into the world comes out in different ways. And I think I've talked more about it in another video, that for the past several years, YouTube is where I spend most of my time and where I have found communities with different people that I've watched for the last decade or more. And I never even had the thought of being on the other side of me being face-to-face, talking to the camera and connecting with community in that way. And it has been beautiful already in this short time, the community that I found here on this platform. And you guys have just been awesome. And I've loved getting to know many of you through conversations back and forth. And I've had the YouTube channel for a while, but it was mainly used for sharing podcast episodes and maybe random other things that I've shared from time to time, but I've never shown up in this way. So I'm growing and learning, and you're getting to watch it up close and personal. But here's the reason I'm showing up right now. If you've noticed, and I think many of you have, because I've gotten some great feedback, and that's another reason why I wanted to do this. Every Sunday, there is a podcast episode from the She Is Awakening Seasonal Journal podcast that I started at the beginning of the year. So those podcast episodes follow along with the She Is Awakening Seasonal Journal. And this one says autumn. There's one that comes out every season. But this journal is something that I developed at the start of last year, 2023. And so in the spring, a journal came out, in the summer, and the autumn, and then the winter. And what this came out of is, I actually have a main podcast, the Susan Beth podcast that I've had this year, started the 9th season. And I found after several years that there was a pattern, that every year, what I talked about was basically going through the seasons of our life. And that's just kind of how I've thought. And I think a lot of that comes from, I am a journaler, and I've always loved to write down and share my thoughts. And I'm not necessarily, there's been seasons where I have been more everyday kind of writing down something, but I'm the kind of journaler where it's just like, if I feel things rising up, and it's like, I like to write them down. And I found it was just always so beautiful to look back and see what I had written and just see this thread in my life that I didn't always recognize as I was living it. So to me, writing things down, whether you call it journaling or whatever, that's not the point, but you call it. The point is, there is power in doing that. And there's even studies that have come out that talk about the physical writing of things, actually how it works with our brain and just processing. It is very powerful, and I found it to be powerful in my life. So back to the podcast. I found that I was talking about seasons all of the time. And so there was that thread of my life. And then there was also the thread of being an abstract artist. And putting art out into the world. And I guess it was at the end of 2022, all of a sudden it was just like one day, it was like, I wanted to do a journal. And it's like, the idea, all of it came together, just made so much sense to me, like it never had before. So I created the first journal, and I'll show you, they all kind of run, they're all kind of set up off the same template, but each seasonal journal obviously follows the theme of the season. So I'm going to open it up and just kind of give you a sneak peek into what the journal is all about. So in the beginning, if you've listened to the audio, which some of you have because you've left beautiful comments, there's like daily rhythms and intentions. So it kind of even just lays the foundation of what the journal is all about. I read this. And so when you listen to the audios, some of this is what I read each time. And I'm going to read just a snippet, just so you know. It says, unless we are intentional in how we desire to live each day, we can tend to live life on autopilot and be pulled toward the loudest voice or distraction of the moment. God can speak to us in so many different ways. Creating space to get still helps us connect with our Creator, which is our ultimate source of life. For many, journaling is one of the most life-giving practices. It helps us get still and know God. The practice of writing slows us down and allows us to breathe, allowing Holy Spirit to lead, comfort, and instruct us. I won't read any more from that, but there's a couple more pages that kind of just lay that foundation of why this process of getting still and connecting with our Creator is so life-giving to us. And the audios that pop in here on the YouTube feed in a playlist every Sunday follow along with each of the weeks. So I want to show you a week. Simply. Okay, so here's like the first week. It says life is seasons. So you'll see there's a piece of art right here. Each week has a piece of my art in it. And then there is a thought. And there's a scan code that actually takes you and connects you to the audios in case you're not here on YouTube or you're not are already subscribed to the podcast. That's an easy way to get there. And it also takes you, if you are interested in purchasing any of the artwork, and it also takes you to, at the end of each week, there is a quote. Let me find one to show you. This is one of my favorites. It says, trust God from the bottom of your heart. And it's actually on a piece of art that I created there. At the end of each week, the quote is a free download for you to download. You can go to that scan code that I showed you that's on the weekly focus page. Go there and it'll instruct you how to do that. But each week has a focus. And I'm going to read you the first week that says life is seasons. And this weekly focus is week 1 and it's in every journal. So all the subsequent weeks, they change according to the season. But this life is season, which is the first week in each season, says this. Life unfolds in seasons, much like the natural world around us. Just as we may favor certain seasons over others, we may find ourselves drawn to some chapters of life more than others. Yet there is beauty woven into every season, even the challenging ones. Sometimes that beauty is what emerges from within us, rising through the hard, cold earth of a winter season, bringing forth new life where we least expect it. The more we resist a season, the more we often find ourselves entangled in its pain. But when we surrender our seasons to the one who holds them all, something truly extraordinary happens. A supernatural grace that transforms every season into a masterpiece of growth and renewal. And then after the weekly thought there's some prompts for you to pray and process that week. And here's the prompts for this first week. What season do you find yourself in? Is your heart and mind focused on a past season or fixed on a future season? Where might you find beauty if you stopped resisting and surrendered to the season? So I have found, as I've walked through the seasons of my life, to stop and ask myself these questions ongoingly has been transformative in my life. Because those prompts, they might sound simplistic to you and think, what's the big deal? But there's power in us stopping and getting still and creating the space for God to speak to us. We live in a world that is just full of distractions all of the time. And even though we might say with our lips that we're following God, we're not getting still and giving ourselves and God the chance to really take into how he's leading us in our life. We can't even hear his voice over all of the noise. Those asking questions like that as we're moving through the season, it grounds us in a way and helps us see how God is leading us. And it helps us to process and ask him if we can't answer the question in that moment, which a lot of the times you can't. You know what I'm saying? I will read it, and it's like I kind of like process. I mean, sometimes immediately something might rise up, but sometimes it's days later. I might be driving to the store, and my mind, then something starts rising up, and I can see with clarity the answer, and I can feel challenged on how to move forward in a more healthy way, and just see what God's doing in my life. Okay, so I want to read the focuses in this autumn journal, just so you can kind of see. So here's the beginning, weekly focuses. And each season has 13 weeks, so it kind of walks through. So the first one, life is seasons, which is what I just shared. Week 2, welcome autumn. Week 3, transitions and trust. Week 4, colors of change. Week 5, layers and leaves. Week 6, letting things fall away. Week 7, thankfulness. Week 8, prayerfulness. Week 9, family table. Week 10, peace. Week 11, joy. Week 12, love. And week 13, preparing for the next season. So here's what I want to let you know about today. I'm going to leave a link in the description or in the comment, maybe both. And it will be a link that will allow you to get a free sample of one of these chapters. I just read you and shared a free sample, so technically don't need it. But if you would like to download a sample just to see for yourself what the journal's all about, I would love that. And also, I'll drop a link that if you've liked what you've seen and you would like to have an autumn journal, I would love that, because we're halfway through the season. And even though it's set up in weeks, I love to tell people this journal's yours for you to use the way that is most life-giving for you. And you don't have to follow the weeks exactly. I mean, you can get the journal and read through it when you have time, as you would like, and I believe you'll find lots of value in it, and see ways God's working in your life that are beautiful in this season that I don't want you to miss. So anyway, I hope you guys are having a good week, and I'll have the links below.